There's a quote by Dr. Shigaki Hinohara, a Japanese doctor who lived to be over 100 years old. He once said, "To stay young, keep your body in motion and your habits under review." He wasn't speaking only to those in gyms or hospitals. He was speaking to all of us, to those who wake up slowly, who sit in silence longer than they used to, who notice the stairs growing steeper, not because the world has changed, but because the body has quietly, subtly shifted. Muscle loss doesn't begin with a diagnosis. It doesn't start with a walker or a cane. It starts much earlier, in the details we overlook. In the days we decide to rest just a little longer. In the meals where we say, "Just toast, I'm not really hungry." In the way we sit comfortable but collapsed. These are the small choices, the invisible moments, the quiet slipping away of strength. You may have felt it already. A hesitation when rising from a chair, a need to steady yourself before stepping forward. You may have told yourself, "This is just age." But what if it's not? What if the stiffness in your legs, the slow mornings, the doubt that appears when looking at a flight of stairs, what if all that isn't age alone, but the result of habits that haven't been questioned? There is a fear many carry but rarely speak aloud, the fear of not being able to walk freely, of losing independence, of becoming someone who must ask for help for things once done without thinking. That fear isn't born in hospitals. It's born at home, in the silent accumulation of days when movement was postponed, nourishment was rushed, purpose was softened. Dr. Peter Attia, a modern voice in the study of aging, once said, "Muscle is the currency of longevity. Lose it, and everything gets more expensive." He's right, not only in the medical sense, but in the daily one. Without muscle, simple tasks become obstacles. Without muscle, the body forgets its own strength. Without muscle, life gets heavier. But here's the truth, the most important truth of this conversation. Muscle loss starts with you, but so does the power to stop it. Not through struggle, not through complicated routines or gym memberships, through strategy, through intention, through awareness of what's already within your reach. This isn't a video about exercises you'll never do. It's not about guilt or pushing yourself past your limits. This is a quiet awakening, a reminder that every small act counts, that the body listens to how you treat it in the first few moments of the day, that your legs are not just limbs, they are memory holders, freedom keepers, the pillars of your independence. Today we're going to explore how simple habits, the way you rise, the breakfast you choose, the way you sit, even the emotions you carry, are silently shaping your strength. You may have lost some muscle. That's okay, many have, but it's not too late, it's never too late. Because the body still remembers, and it wants to move. It wants to carry you. All it needs is your attention. Let's begin. There's something sacred about the first few seconds after waking. The light changes behind the curtain, the quiet before the kettle boils, the breath that returns to the body. And yet most of us rush past it. We swing our legs over the bed, stand up quickly, and begin the day without listening. Not to the birds, not to the silence, and certainly not to the body. But the body has been still for hours. Joints have stiffened. Blood flow has slowed. Muscles are quiet, unprepared. And when we stand too fast, the body resists, even if silently. A twinge in the knee, a tightness in the back, a small imbalance that wasn't there yesterday. Over time, these tiny resistances accumulate. And one day, standing becomes difficult, and we wonder why. There is a practice almost forgotten that gently reminds the body that it is time to wake. Before standing, just a minute or two of soft, deliberate motion, a few slow circles of the ankles to stir the blood, a gentle squeeze of the knees together to signal connection, a rock of the hips left to right, like dusting off the stiffness of the night. It seems too small to matter, but it matters deeply. Geriatric therapists have observed something simple and powerful. Those who begin their day with these small activations fall less, move more confidently, and regain a sense of orientation in their own bodies. Not because they are younger, but because their muscles remember that they're still needed, still alive. We often think of balance as something that belongs to dancers or athletes. But balance is something we all negotiate every day, when stepping into the shower, reaching for a cup, walking across uneven ground. It's not a skill to be mastered, It's a dialogue with gravity, and that dialogue begins the moment you rise. Imagine an orchestra, each instrument quiet after a long night. You would never ask it to play a symphony without first tuning each string, each breath, each drum. Your body is no different. Ankles, knees, hips, they are your violin, your cello, your horn. Tune them first, then begin your day. In these first 90 seconds, you are not just waking up. You are speaking directly to your muscles, telling them, I am still here, I still need you, and I haven't forgotten how to listen. There's a softness to morning hunger. Not loud, not urgent, just a quiet emptiness that waits to be fed. But what we choose to place on our plate in those early hours echoes far beyond taste, especially after 60, especially when the body begins to guard every gram of strength like treasure. Many reach for simplicity in the morning, a slice of toast, a smear of jam, a cup of coffee, maybe half a banana. It feels light, it feels clean, it feels easy. But lightness isn't always kindness, especially when muscles have gone the entire night without fuel, especially when your legs, the very foundation of your independence, are waiting for nourishment. What few people realize is that your muscles are more receptive in the morning. After sleep, they are like soil after rain, ready to absorb, ready to grow, but only if we feed them with what they truly need. Not sugar, not caffeine, not empty softness, but protein, healthy fat, dense nourishment that tells the body, you're safe, you're supported, you can move. Science confirms what many elders in the Mediterranean have practiced all their lives. Their mornings don't begin with sweetness. They begin with sustenance. A boiled egg, a slice of cheese, a drizzle of olive oil on greens. Not for pleasure alone, but because movement requires it. Because longevity is built on what happens before noon. This isn't about rules or diets or restrictions. It's about protection. Every time you skip protein in the morning, your body continues to break itself down, using what little muscle it has to keep going, quietly, day by day. But when you give it strength, when your first meal includes something solid, something living, that silent erosion slows. The body hears the message, we are rebuilding now. Imagine this, a small plate, not large, not heavy, an egg, steamed or boiled, a piece of toast but layered with something sustaining like peanut butter or avocado, a few leaves of greens. Nothing extreme, nothing foreign, just food that speaks to your muscles in a language they remember. There's a saying worth repeating, feed your legs early or they'll feed on themselves throughout the day. And it's true, because your body isn't just hungry for calories, it's hungry for preservation, for dignity, for the energy to walk through the garden, lift a grandchild, or reach for a pot on the shelf without hesitation. Your breakfast is not a detail, it's a decision. And each morning, that decision speaks to your strength or your surrender. Choose the one that reminds your legs they're still needed. There's a kind of sitting that feels restful, but quietly weakens you. A soft chair, a deep couch, the knees tucked higher than the hips. You exhale, relieved to be off your feet, unaware that with every minute your strength is quietly being bargained away. We sit more than ever, to rest, to watch, to wait. But not all sitting is the same. There is passive sitting, the kind that lets your muscles turn off like light switches. And there is active sitting, the kind that keeps you connected to your own weight, your own presence, your own structure. Most of us have forgotten the difference. When your knees rise above your hips, the hips tilt backward, the spine rounds, the glutes, the great engines of your body turn off, and when they go quiet, the legs slowly forget their power. The back takes on more than it should. The muscles that once helped you climb stairs or rise without effort grow shorter, quieter, less responsive. Over time, what seems like fatigue is actually disuse. What feels like aging is often the slow retreat of muscles that haven't been called upon. This is not about discomfort. It's not about sitting on a hard bench or holding your breath at the dinner table. It's about awareness. It's about asking, is this chair a cradle for my strength or a cage for my legs? There are small, almost invisible ways to shift the dialogue. A cushion beneath the hips, a towel rolled at the base of the spine, a gentle squeeze of the glutes for 10 seconds while seated, not to build bulk, but to remind the body it's still here, still alive, still in use. Movement doesn't always mean walking. Sometimes it means resisting stillness with presence. Letting the body know that sitting is not abandonment, but an active pause, that your muscles are not forgotten, that your strength still matters, even in silence. The body doesn't measure time in years alone. It measures how long it's been since you asked it to participate, even in the quietest moments. And the way you sit day after day is one of those moments. So the next time you rest, remember, comfort is not the opposite of strength, but unconsciousness is. Let each chair become a place of return, not retreat. Let it support you without stealing from you. Let it become part of your healing, not your hiding. Not all loss begins in the body. Some of it begins in the heart, in the quiet resignation that comes with age. The moment someone says, "I'm just getting old," something inside folds. Not loudly, not with drama, but like a light going dim in a room no one enters anymore. This idea, that decline is inevitable, that the best years are behind, is one of the most dangerous beliefs a person can hold. Because the body listens, the body follows, and over time it stops trying to fight for strength when the mind has already surrendered. But this surrender rarely happens all at once. It happens in small ways. When you stop kneeling in the garden because it's too much. When you choose the elevator, even though you once loved stairs. When you begin to believe that walking slower is just part of the story, not something you can still shape. Science has begun to catch up with what some elders have always known in their bones. That belief shapes biology, that the people who feel they have agency, the ones who still feel useful, still feel needed, retain more strength than those who feel left behind. In places like Okinawa or Sardinia, no one exercises. No one sets aside time for a workout. They move because life asks them to. They carry wood, they squat to prepare food, they tend gardens and grandchildren. Their movement is stitched into their purpose. And that, more than any gym routine, is what keeps their bodies alive. You don't need motivation. You need meaning. You need a reason to move that goes beyond effort. Something tied to care, to continuity, to dignity. Watering your plants isn't just about hydration. It's about bending the knees, stretching the arms, affirming life. Folding laundry isn't just a chore. It's a form of motion, of presence, of rhythm. Pair these small actions with quiet affirmations, not loud or forced, but true. Say, "I keep what I use." Say, "These legs carry my story." Say, "I'm still here, I still matter." Because the truth is this, your legs don't age the way calendars do. They respond to what you ask of them. And if you ask nothing, they give you nothing. But if you ask gently, consistently, with care, they remember. So if strength has faded, know this, it can return. Not through force, not through pressure, but through reconnection, through small acts of daily belonging, through the choice to move not for results, but for remembrance of who you are and who you still have time to become. Dr. Shigeaki Hinohara lived to be 105. He walked most places, stood during lectures, and worked every day until the age of 100. But what people remember most isn't just his longevity. It's what he said about the simple act of moving. People who choose to stay active choose to stay young. Not young in appearance, not young in the way magazines speak of youth, but young in spirit, young in energy, young in the way a person still rises from a chair with purpose. And perhaps that is the secret many forget, that youth is not lost all at once. It doesn't disappear with a birthday. It erodes slowly, through habits left unexamined, through motions no longer made, through meals eaten without intention, through quiet decisions that say, "Not today, I'm too tired, I'll wait." What seems like aging is often the absence of movement, of nourishment, of attention. And the greatest part of that erosion begins in the muscles. Yet muscle loss rarely announces itself. It doesn't knock on the door. It creeps in, silent and slow. First, you notice the stairs, then the jar that won't open, then the step that takes longer to trust. You tell yourself, this is normal, it's just age. And without realizing, you begin to adjust your life to your weakness, instead of adjusting your habits to your strength. That quiet resignation, it has a cost. Because muscle isn't just tissue, It's protection. It's balance. It's the ability to move through the world without fear. When people think of muscle, they often think of gyms, of heavy weights, of youth. But in truth, muscle is the most human thing we carry. It holds us when we stand. It lifts us from sleep. It catches us when we stumble. It is not a vanity. It is a language, a whisper between body and brain that says, "You are safe. You are capable. You still belong to this earth." Dr. Peter Attia once said, "Muscle is the currency of longevity. Lose it, and everything gets more expensive." And it's true, not just in money, but in effort. The cost of independence rises. The effort to bathe, to walk, to cook, to live, it all adds up. What was once effortless now asks for permission. And yet, there is something quiet and beautiful in this realization. If muscle loss happens through the accumulation of small neglects, then muscle preservation, even muscle recovery, can happen through small attentions. It begins in those first few seconds of the morning, when your feet haven't yet touched the floor. It continues in the breakfast that either wakes your muscles or lets them continue fading. It hides in the way your body folds into chairs, how often it is asked to stand, to carry, to be part of the world. Every act is a message to the body. Every stillness, every motion, every bite. And the body, no matter the age, still listens. This awareness is more powerful than motivation. Because motivation fades. It disappears on cold mornings and hard days. But awareness, true, lived awareness, and stays. It becomes part of you. It watches how you rise. It pays attention to how you sit. It remembers to feed the muscles not just with food, but with movement and meaning. Muscle is not built with force. It's built with consistency, with care, with repetition, and most of all, with attention. And when attention becomes habit, the body responds. It begins to recover what was lost. Not all at once. Not like magic, but like rain returning to dry land. Slowly, gently, patiently, with love. This is not a call to train. It's not a command to change your life overnight. It's an invitation to return, to the body you still live in, to the muscles that still remember, to the quiet strength that still wants to hold you upright. It's a reminder that what has faded can be reawakened, not with punishment, but with presence. You do not need to be someone else. You do not need to be 20 or 30 or even 50 again. You only need to return to what the body has always asked for: movement, nourishment, rhythm, respect. These are not luxuries. They are your birthright. Let the message be simple. Let it be quiet, like morning light across a kitchen floor. The best way to stop muscle loss is to become aware that it is starting. Not someday, not in the future, but now. In the breakfast you prepare. In the way you sit to rest. In the breath you take before rising. In the belief that you are still strong enough to move, to carry, to walk, to live with dignity. And when you wake tomorrow, let one question stay with you. Not as pressure, but as a soft hand on your shoulder. Which of today's choices will you make differently tomorrow? Not everything needs to change. Just something. Just one small thing that tells your body, I remember you. I still need you. We're still in this together, and we still have time.